Ask anyone what social media means to them.
From when I wake up to when I go to bed, I'll be checking social media.
The answers vary. For some, it's an escape.
Very few people are getting most of the attention on social media.
For others, it's a way to connect.
I think social media has had a huge impact in how we talk to one another.
A platform full of possibility, but also fraught with problems.
For the past 10 months, it's become more stressful than anything to me.
We are addicted to outrage nowadays.
You can say hurtful things with little to no consequence.
There's a lot of manipulation of social media, and it comes from a lot of different places.
I think that the blinders for a lot of people came off in the tech industry after the events of January 6th.
Everybody stay down!
So where does social media go from here?
There have been reports of gunshots, windows broken, and the National Guard has been deployed.
In this Denver 7 360, a computer science professor, politicians, a communications professor, and the ACLU weigh in on the role social media plays in politics. Before we talk about the riots, let's rewind. For years, social media's footprint in politics has been growing.
Everybody who's very serious about national office either is or better learn how to do social media in effective ways.
But it wasn't until 2016 that a candidate tapped into its true potential.
I'm not sure anybody's done it to the extent that Trump did it, though.
Michael Humphrey analyzed every tweet first candidate, then President Trump sent.
The way he was using narratives throughout the Twitter feed to build alliances and also to attack opponents.
I'm Lauren Boebert.
Other politicians and even average Joes are now mirroring that language. Pseudo-news sites also started to rise, propelling partisanship.
I think in some ways this probably is the most we've ever been engaged in politics.
But all that talk has occasionally led to trouble. It started with a filter for posts, people, even facts.
You can filter your sources of information. So if you never want to be presented with a viewpoint that is different from your own, you never have to.
It has helped fuel the misinformation and the lies.
In a lot of ways, we almost live in a post-truth world.
Is it that you like to surround yourself by people who think like you? Or is it that the social networks like to feed you content that gets you to click and think in certain kinds of ways?
Then politicians started blocking people.
That's when the politicians run into trouble with the First Amendment. The First Amendment limits that public official's ability to pick and choose who is going to speak and what views are going to be acceptable.
Eventually, the platforms added fact-checking features.
We're going to walk down to the Capitol.
But by that point, it was too late. On January 6th, online talk became offline action.
And so I think for social platforms, they wanted to ignore or deny or diminish that kind of linkage for a really long time. And I think it became impossible.
We the people!
After the events of January 6th.
A spotlight shined on the role social media played in the siege.
There's this direct line back to those kinds of conversations, that kinds of organizing was taking place on their platforms.
We had an election that was stolen from us.
In the days after, a reckoning. President Trump was kicked off of mainstream sites like Twitter while still in office, causing some to cry foul. Others wonder what this means for the future.
The power of a private company to suppress or marginalize unpopular speech is a power with which we ought to be concerned, even if right now it doesn't actually violate the First Amendment.
And I think all those questions just show how complicated this is going to be when you have private industry making major decisions about the way news is and the way information is going to flow in a democracy.
There's no question that social media is playing an increasing role in politics. But whether that role should continue, who should police it, and where the line should be drawn are issues lawmakers in the tech industry will have to come to terms with.
These platforms like Twitter and Facebook and Instagram, they are so powerful now that they really are part of the establishment.
For everyone else, the question is, are you using social media, or is it using you? Megan Lopez, Denver 7.